Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Imagine with Keira podcast. I'm joined by a very special guest today, and I'll have him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Jesse Wyatt. I'm owned the record store called Second Time Around. I'm an educator, an artist, and a music person.
That's awesome, and he has a pretty cool record of records, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about that, how you got started in collecting records.
I got started collecting vinyl when I was 5 years old. My first LP was James Brown, Please, Please, Please. After that, it took off, and it just grew and grew and grew. And now I've been blessed to have maybe in my collection over 100,000.
Wow, that's awesome. Do you have a favorite?
All is my favorite.
Why do you think record collection became such a big part of your life?
It had a texture of the time that we were dealing with in the 60s and 70s and 80s that was so monumental to my lifestyle because I have no brothers and sisters, so I related to my vinyl and a lot of different things, how I learned about life.
That's awesome. So now you run this record store that we're currently sitting in right now, and you're selling off a lot of your records. So what has that process been like for you, that transition?
It's been very, 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 very meaningful in a lot of different ways because people that I have met through the 3 years of me having this open have been here because they want to be here and they wanted to pick up on music that they felt strongly about.
That's awesome. I think what else I can ask you. So I would love to hear more about your life working in education.
I started as an educator in 1984 at Tulare Union High School. Volunteered as a track coach and it led into other things. Over the course of 40 years now, I always wanted to be a part of children's lives and making their lives more enricher by helping them with either academic-wise or athletic-wise or just social-wise.
That's awesome. I would love to talk about how your records have been relevant throughout the times.
Well, in particular, like I said, I got involved with vinyl because vinyl was so important to me dealing with the times that I was growing up in the 60s and 70s. At 71, I was 11 years old. There was an album that came out called What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. He was talking about how the Vietnam War was playing havoc on people's lives and how one block might be really nice and sweet. 2 blocks over, it could be a riot going on because they was protesting these kind of different things. You looked at Sly and the Family Stones, actually had an LP called There's a Riot Going On. And then, you had Creedence Clearwater Revival, had a song called Graveyard Train that was talking about bringing back soldiers from the Vietnam War that was, had passed on. So in that aspect of the 70s, told me a lot about the texture of our world and music. And so I got a lot from that.
That's awesome. And so now that you are selling these records, how have you seen the impact of that, as history repeats itself?
Well, the thing is, I think the table that I have here has young people that come here. I can tell them that story. And that's what they want, the value of that music more so. Because they say, Mr. Wyatt gave me a story behind it as well. Because he lived it, through that music.
That's wonderful. And then you also have several other ways that you share your music, such as your jazz club. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I formatted Jesse's Jazz Club about a year and a half ago. It was on 31st of December. And it was raining, and I said I wanted to have some friends over. We just do some jazz. So one of my friends says, Oprah Winfrey had a book club that she used to run. Why don't you do a Jesse's Jazz Club? And so that's when it was formatted. So with that, I started that up, and so we do a monthly jazz talk about different artists at that time.
That's so cool. What has been the best moment so far with your record store now? Any special standouts?
Young people starting off listening to music like I did at 4 or 5 years old. And when I see a young person come in and ask about a certain album or a certain thing like that, it makes my heart feel good because I'm never going to let vinyl be a diet entity. It's always going to be something that's in my life. A lot of people got involved with cassettes, 8-tracks, and different things of that nature back in the day, got into CDs. I was always still collecting vinyl. Vinyl is my thing. And so I'm always going to try to campaign for that, to to keep it alive.
Let's see what else. Do you have a specific vinyl that you searched really hard for and you finally found? There has to
A
be
lot.
one.
A lot. Yeah. But out of all my artists that I deal with in the aspects of collecting, James Brown is my top guy. And then there's the Beatles, because that was the part of my life that Beatles was only around for 4 years and they broke up. And a lot of people don't realize how influenced the Beatles were on our culture of life. In 1964, when they was on the Ed Sullivan Show, that's when I seen them at 4 years old, sitting in front of my mom's black and white TV set. And then after that, I started collecting it. And so, you know, Beatles and James Brown was a big part of my life, as in who I really start to, you know, collect music from.
That's so cool. Is there a record that you keep playing right now? One that's standing out to you?
That's hard to say also. But I think on any given morning, when I wake up, there's a song in my head. And before I can start my day, I have to hear that song. So regardless of it's James Brown, Staple Singers, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Jimi Hendrix, or whoever is in my head, I have to hear that song before I can start my day. And I don't know why it's like that, but it is.
I would love to walk around your collection a little bit and have you talk about different aspects when I cut to that.
So now let's give everybody a tour of the record store. So start down here. Explain. What's your takeaway?
What I wanted to do was, on any given day when people come into the record store, they could have choices to pick from. So I make these little categories. And these categories usually have anywhere between 100 to 105 LPs in each one of those boxes. I have a lot of rock, I have a lot of jazz, have a lot of R&B and things of that nature. So that's that way. On the walls themselves, on different artifacts that you see, these are things that I grew up with in the aspects of 60s, 70s, and 80s, and things of that general.
Awesome. Let's see. Do you have a certain genre that seems to sell especially well right now?
No.
Out of curiosity?
No.
Across the board?
Because you have people here that want to buy classical music. You have people that want to buy show tunes. You have people that want to buy rock. You have people that want to buy jazz. And so whatever person comes in, and if I can accommodate them, it's here. We make it happen.
That's so cool. Do you have the story of the first record you ever received? Do you remember?
Yes. It was James Brown, Please, Please, Please.
Yes.
I was basically 5 years old, 6 years old. A gentleman gave it to me, and that's what started my whole collecting.
That's so cool.
Yeah. The artwork on the floor is basically something that I did when I was living at home with my mom at 14, 15 years old. And then I decided 2 years ago to create it again on the floor here, because at that time I was a pop locker. And that's someone that does break dancing and all that kind of different things at that time. So I wanted to create that again, so that's what I did.
That's so cool. I remember you telling me about your mom coming home and seeing everything all over the walls.
Yeah, my mom came home from work, looked up on the wall and seen all of this different artwork that I had done over the course of 6 hours, and she just kind of shook her head and says, "You're different. You're different." You know?
And now it's being shared. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And now you have this wall behind us. What stands out to you about this area?
Well, on any given day, this is like a collage of different artists and different things that I went through, once again, at the age of anywhere between 9 years old up into 15. Like I said, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? This is a significant album because Marvin Gaye's brother, Frankie Gaye, was in the Vietnam War. So when Marvin made this album, he went into protest because he wanted to know why his brother was in that service, for what reasons. And nobody really could tell those young men that.
Yeah.
Okay. You have Bob Marley. Bob Marley was a person that I felt real strong about because his texture of music was a little different, but it was always good because it always said, no matter what, everything's going to be all right. You know. Fat Albert was one of my cartoons I used to watch back in the 70s. But it's just, like I said, I'm a different variety of who I am. And it displays how I feel about my music in the aspects of growing up.
So cool.
Now we're on to the next little corner in your shop. So you have the cartoons going always on
Always.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And then you have several turntables. I'd love for you to talk about this area as well.
Well, when I was buying stereos back in the day. A lot of friends of mine used to tease me about it. You know, I spent all my money on turntables and receivers and things of that nature. I just wanted to hear the complexity of sound and how it sounded in different kind of aspects of speakers. So I purchased a lot of these different things over the course of anywhere between 15 and 22 years old.
That's so cool. Let's see, so we have Michael Jackson's Thriller already ready to go over there. And then over here as well, several others.
I used to DJ, and so this was one of my DJ turntables back in the day, in the 80s. These here are more or less receivers and turntables that I got from the 70s. Like I said, they all had different kind of sound and texture of the music. So I had certain turntables that I would just play jazz on. I had certain turntables that I would play, you know, classic rock. I had certain turntables that I would play classical on.
That's cool. And that'll be it for the first part of this series. Thank you again for making this possible and for having such an awesome collection. I can't wait to show it off more in the second one.
No problem. Have a good day.
See ya.